So today we are here from Tantra Foundation and we are with Samir, who's the guitarist of the band called Warfaze from Bangladesh. So we are in talks with him and we would want to know more about his music and his journey with the guitar. So kindly introduce yourself and what do you do?
Hello, I'm Samir Hafeez. I'm a musician, guitar player from Bangladesh, based in Dhaka. I've been doing music since I think 2001. I've been learning since 2001. And one of the other participants here mentioned that he's been following me since D-Rockstars. I think that was the inception of my musical career. That was in 2007. I've been doing music ever since. The band I participated in D-Rockstars with was called Power Surge, and Power Surge was also the champion of that competition. And I was also voted the best guitarist in D-Rockstars. And the interesting thing is, from another band, Radioactive, they were the runners-up. And their singer, called Polash Noor, he was also the best vocalist. And the two of us now are in Warfaze.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next question I would ask you is like, what inspired you to get into the guitar? Like being in Bangladesh, do you think the rock music scene is very vibrant there? And what really made you interested in this instrument?
I think what made me interested in the instrument was the sound of it. The guitar solos that we all know, like Michael Jackson's Beat It.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that guitar solo right there, I think popularized the sound of the electric guitar. Then my favorite song growing up from Michael Jackson was Black or White. And dominantly that song had a guitar riff in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love the sound of that. And going up a bit more, I heard guitar solos from Kamal Bhai himself,
Okay.
who's the main founder guitar player of Warfaze.
Okay.
I think three guys were like huge inspirations. Kamal Bhai, his guitar solo from the song Pot Chola, that really touched me. And if you know the band Miles, Hamin Bhai, his guitar solo from the song Shopno Bhongo, I just love that. And the great late Ayub Bachchu, one solo from him, I can't remember the name of the song, but oh yeah, I think it's Kede Kede Jabo. It was a very simple melody, but I just love the sound of it. And I think earlier in my workshop I mentioned that I started by learning the keyboards. And all these guitar solos that I heard, I wanted to emulate that sound, and I was like, there's no way the keyboard can give me that sound. So I was like, I'm gonna play guitar. So yeah.
Now, another very interesting thing I would want to tell the audiences, because before this we were having a short interaction. So where we came to know about your, I will not say disability, but I would say you're specially abled in a sense that he cannot hear from one of his ears. Is it the right ear?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, so despite that like special ability, as I would say, like he still picked up this instrument. And this reminds me of two great musicians. One is the Western classical virtuoso like Beethoven, and who couldn't hear. Like when he was playing the greatest music piece of all, like the Fifth Symphony, he was barely deaf, like he couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
And the second person is Grateful Dead's lead guitarist Jerry Garcia, because he had actually cut his thumb. And without a thumb, he was actually playing the guitar, which was very difficult. So how would you think like that this special ability actually helped you to get into the instrument more?
I don't think it had a lot to do with the instrument itself, but the department of sound itself. I ended up going to London to study sound engineering, just to understand what was going on in reality from the sound side of things. Earlier in the workshop, I mentioned that I didn't really choose music. That's not how I feel anymore. I feel like because of the hearing disability, I was forced to choose music because I was
Or
forced
rather,
to.
it chose you.
Yeah, music chose me. Understanding pitch, volume, all the things that are involved in sound or acoustics, whatever you call it. My fascination came from that, to sort of understand what I was missing out on.
Yeah.
And my life kind of, drove its path in that direction.
So it kind of made you into a whole.
Yeah.
So it was like there was something incomplete, and the music came in his life, and it made you complete.
Yeah, absolutely. The more I did music, the more I got into sound engineering, the more I did whatever I was doing. I wasn't planning on doing any of this, but early on, that curiosity,
Yeah.
that how can I understand sound more?
Yeah.
From that, I got into music. From
The guitar is your second year, like, in a way.
I would say it's more like an extension of my mind
Yeah.
and my body.
Yeah.
Just like they say that about swords and samurais.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask Samir one simple thing, point that you hopped on. Recently, I had an interaction with John McLaughlin and Zakir Bhai.
Awesome.
So I asked him this question, that when you are playing at that level, at the zenith, there is no difference between you, the body, and the instrument,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So he said that this is a very spiritual thing. It's like the instrument also interacts, gets into a dialogue with you.
Yeah.
And as you said that you learned sound engineering, so it's more like landscaping. So when you do a landscape, the gardens where you
Yeah.
do the bushes and all these things. So you talked about the emotional memory because of the hearing problem, and it stays with you, as
Yeah.
you said. And very interesting thing which he mentioned is the growth of the personality, the person or the self. It's not that things are evolving because you are evolving.
Yeah.
Yes. So just expand on that, because a lot of young kids who are picking up the instrument, when you pick up a lead guitar, there is a fanfare associated with it. But to get, down to the basics and
Well,
get
that's what
rooted.
I would say. Like, we were interviewing Amit Datta, like he's
yeah.
one of very popular guitarists
Amit
in
Datta from Kolkata.
Calcutta. So he was saying that like guitar makes you look like a god in a way, like
Yeah.
because it's such a glamorous instrument. So there is a lot of like paraphernalia associated with it. But when it comes to the basics of the instrument, it's really about how well you play. It's not about the looks.
Yeah.
So would you want to expand more on that thought?
I don't know what
Because
really.
it's a very good-looking instrument. Like you can see, the instrument itself,
He himself is looking
yeah,
good.
garners
with
so
this,
much
yeah.
attention. So how does a player contribute to such a beautiful instrument?
How does the player contribute to such a beautiful instrument? I think the player can only love the instrument,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the instrument would love the player back.
Yeah, I think
It's just
that's
that
it. Yeah.
one simple way of saying that.
Yeah, and what would you say to all the young people? Because we saw a lot of young people coming to him and asking him a lot of technical and musical questions, because they're all budding musicians and artists. So what would you want to say, like through a wider audience in YouTube? Like, what would you want to tell them, like if they're interested in this path?
If you're interested in this path, make sure you have your parents' permission and blessings, because I definitely think if my parents did not allow me to go forward with
Yeah,
this,
support you.
it would never have happened. I mean, we live in a part of the world where, if you say that you're a musician, some people will just laugh at you. But I think it all comes down to how much you love the instrument, how much you love the art form, and what you're willing to give to it. For me, I didn't really have much of a choice because of, I think, the paths of my life were very polarized because of my hearing ability. I mean, there are a lot of things that people don't talk about, like how can a person be accommodated in the right way, especially during their childhood. So I would say, from my experience in life, I did not do well in studies, but that didn't mean I was bad at studies. It just meant I lacked the right accommodations for it.
Yeah.
And that came from the fact that, you know, people don't talk about these things, or maybe even the concept doesn't exist. Very recently, I learned that I have had ADHD all my life.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
And because I didn't have that, I looked up in the website.
Like you were talking about dyslexia as well. Do you
Yeah.
have that as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm not able to hear well enough in this one. Whatever audio or sound I'm getting through the good ear, my brain is scanning the whole thing and breaking it down, the pitch or the equalization, whatever, or the missing phase information, and it's trying to fill in those gaps. So let's say I would hear words that are similar but not the same. That's where the dyslexia would come from.
Yes.
Like, I understand a word in a way that was not being said.
Yeah.
So for me, it created a lot of problems growing up. When I had a very
So then you
confusing
would have
childhood
a lot
for
of,
that.
Issues with meaning generation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the process that my brain puts all the sound through, that I think allowed me to sort of understand music. I think for me, understanding music became easier than understanding words
Okay,
at one point.
Yes.
So for me, it was not really much of a challenge. I would also like to say that growing up, I actually grew up in a musical environment. That's something that maybe
parents
no
were
longer
into music?
exists.
Parents were into music somewhere?
My parents
Classical?
were into music. My father played the tabla.
Oh, great.
Then I had my aunts that went to Chayanot and learned singing. Another aunt learned the sitar.
Oh, wow.
So there was harmonium, tabla, all these musical instruments
You grew up.
growing up.
Yeah.
So like as early as say 6 years old, I was already getting into it. So I would say I had a head start in that manner.
So the rhythm part was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you say the right hand would do the rhythm part and then you do the
And
notes
this
with the
is
left
also
hand.
Yeah.
a very big inspiration for those who are suffering things like mental issues like ADHD, just attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or dyslexia. So it's always advisable if you have special kids like that to get them into something which is an art form like painting or music.
Creative
Yeah.
art form,
Because
creative
that
art form.
actually brings up, and today you can see such a successful
Beautiful.
person right here. So we would encourage everyone who has kids out there who have these kind of issues to put them into an art form, because you can have great success in that field. So now, like with the parting question, I would like to ask you, like, what is your future, like any upcoming albums or anything? What's the current Bangladeshi music scene? What's going on,
I think
like after the pandemic?
yeah, I'm happy about one thing about Bangladesh is that the sound of rock, sound of metal has somehow survived in the mainstream side of things.
Yes.
Rest of the world has, I think, moved on from heavy metal and rock. I mean, there's a niche for it, but the sound keeps changing. I mean, 10 years ago we had gent, we had what was that? The Skrillex sound, you know, EDM, and now it's like
Yeah,
maybe
EDM,
something
yeah.
else. So music and all of its things keep changing, keeps evolving. But in Bangladesh, rock and metal music and bands have gone to the mainstream and stayed there. I would say a lot of, I think, very good rock and metal music exists in Bangladesh. And it's not like that in most other countries.
Great.
Well, and what was the question
Like
before
your
that?
future plans, like
Future plans is to keep surviving by doing music.
That's great.
I have, like I mentioned, I have a few bands. I would like to mention them. The first one is Power Surge. We already released an album back in 2008. We're going to come up with a new single very soon. It's already done. I have another band, the band that I started out with. That band is known as Shrapnel Method. And our debut album is coming in maybe 1 or 2 months.
that's good news.
Yeah. And a bit later, I'm going to make them listen to the album. And as for Warfaze, we released a couple of singles in the past few months. And one of the workshop questions was how I did that, and I mentioned that for me it was a new role that I played, which was the role of the producer, which was to create every aspects of the music, from the composition, from the artistry to the technical sound engineering side of things. I had to do everything, and I immensely enjoyed it. And I think it's something that I learned in London like 10 years back, and I think I finally put in my 100,000 hours, and I've and like the 10 years,
Okay.
like they say, it's been that long, and I've finally sort of I'm done with my quest of finding out what I'm missing out with this. I think now I'm at a place where I can understand what I'm hearing and what you're hearing, and what the difference is. What my physical body didn't give me, my skills and technical knowledge and experience made up for that in a way. So I'm just starting out in the avenue of, I think, whatever I'm doing. So to answer your question, I'm just gonna keep doing music, and they're just gonna come up, and whoever wants to hear them, the music will reach them.
Yeah.
So like before signing off, just can you play a single note or something?
Oh, single note. All right.
Maybe I want to break the air like that. You can play the Purnata solo. Am I right? You can play the Purnata solo.
Sure.
Yeah.
কেউ এসে Allah সময় উদ্দেশ্যহীন মিছিলে তুমি সেই পূর্ণতায় আমার অনুভবে নয় আধার তুমি স্বপ্নে ডেকে নিলে ভরে মোর অন্তহীন রঙিন এক উৎসবে There you go.
That was so
Lovely.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you
Thank
so much. We really enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.